The more things you own, the more time and money they will suck out of your life. This is what I learned after years of struggling with clutter stuffed in my wardrobes. I have since been on a minimalism journey, and there are some things that can so easily clutter up your home and your mind. So if your stuff feels suffocating right now, you're not alone. These are some things that might be adding to that stress without us realizing sometimes. Once I decluttered my home, things changed. For the better. It almost felt like switching to play life on easy mode rather than the hard, stressful mode. So if you need some help to get a clutter-free home, I think these products are a great place to start. The stash of cleaning products is something that can so easily clutter up our homes, and we tend to think, myself included, I used to think that having a lot of cleaning products meant my home is going to be really clean. But having a lot of products under my sink actually just meant that I was more overwhelmed, and it just felt really cluttered and messy in there. And when I went to clean, I would usually gravitate towards the same products, the same few products, and there were a whole lot of them in there that I almost never used. And I felt like I just needed them for every single surface, for windows, for wood, for limescale, for bathroom, for sink, for the bathtub. There's so many different products for all of these little surfaces when in fact we don't really need that much. I have switched back to basics, and I have one spray that I use. It's kind of a counter spray that I use for pretty much all surfaces, whether it's my kitchen counters or my dining table or my coffee table or the furniture in here. I use that same spray for almost everything. And then I have a bathroom spray that's great for limescale, and I use that for the sink, for mirrors, for the bathtub, for all of those bathroom items. And I use it for all the mirrors in the house as well, for windows. We do not need to have specific products for every single item in our homes, and actually scaling down our products can help us feel less overwhelmed. And then when we go to do our weekly cleaning, we can just grab those two products or that one bathroom product and go around the house with that and the cloth and just get the cleaning done, rather than having to lug around a whole bucket full of products for all of these little surfaces. So sometimes it's these cleaning products that can end up cluttering your home rather than help you keep it tidy and clean. The more we can simplify the process and make cleaning easier on ourselves and tidying easier on ourselves, the more likely we are to do it and to do it regularly. And that means, for one, it's going to take less time because there's not so much grime accumulated, and also it's going to feel less overwhelming, so we're more likely to actually do it. And sticking with the cleaning theme, I also swapped things like mop and a bucket, and instead I use this mop that has a cleaning cloth attached to it with Velcro. You can just take it off when you're finished mopping the floors and put it in the wash. It's one of those like spray and mop kind of mops. I think it's called a Bona mop that I have. And what this means is I don't have to lug around a bucket with me. It doesn't take up that much space in my cupboards, which they're not massive anyway. And so it makes cleaning the floors that much quicker, just simpler, and sometimes reducing our products in our homes from those big bulky ones like that big bucket that we have for the mop, and swapping it to something more simple and just easy to use. That means it can make cleaning, for one, a bit more enjoyable, because, you know, when it's a bit less effort to take it out and to do the mopping, it just doesn't feel like that big of a task. And I'm a big fan of simplifying my life as much as possible as a mom of two little ones. Another thing that might be cluttering up your kitchen is having two can openers. I don't mean just specifically can openers. What I mean here is all of those duplicate items for a very specific purpose. When we tend to have a lot of duplicates of one item that serves a very specific purpose, like for example a can opener, if we have two of those, we're very likely only using one that's our favorite one or that works the best. We use that one all the time, and the other one is just sitting there just in case. And I think decluttering the second and keeping just the one that you actually use and that you love using is gonna make a big difference in your home. And you might think, well, it's only one product. It's fine if I have duplicates, you know, in case this one breaks, I have this one. And I think there's nothing wrong with that, especially if it's an item that you do use a lot. But I think the problem and the reason why sometimes our kitchen can feel so cluttered is because we tend to use the same mindset for a lot of items in our homes. So yes, it's fine to keep duplicates for those items that maybe mean a lot to you, or you use them a lot and you know you're gonna get a lot of use even out of the spare one. Obviously, keep keep that if that makes sense for you. But when we have that mindset of having a lot of items just in case, then all of those just in case items can really add up. And instead of actually helping our lives and making them more convenient and better, it's just hindering them, and it's making things a lot more complicated because we are just suffocating in things. And also, if your kitchen cupboards feel very cluttered, water bottles might be one of the reasons. And yes, a water bottle can be useful, and we do need them, right? We do need to take water with us sometimes. I think it's become so common to have tons of water bottles in our cupboards, and I think if we really ask ourselves, we don't really need or use all of those water bottles. And it's not just the water bottles. I feel like there's a trend with water bottles, right? With all the colors and the shapes and all the brands out there. But if you just have one, maybe stainless steel that lasts forever, you don't really need a ton of them. In our home, we keep one per person, and that's pretty much it. My kids only have one water bottle, and they take that to school or nursery every day. And water bottles is one of those things that can so easily accumulate, and the cupboards can feel so stuffed when you have a ton of them in there. And that leads us to feeling like we need to buy more organizers to organize our water bottles because they're constantly falling on each other. But in reality, if we just reduce the amount of water bottles, then the cupboards are never going to be that full. It's only going to be one water bottle per day to wash per person, and it just makes things easier. And this same water bottle concept can be applied to so many things in our kitchen, like cups, glasses, mugs, all of those items that, you know, we have in access in there. I'm not saying you should only keep one mug per person. We do have more than that, but it's just about reducing them. If you feel like your cupboards are too full, reducing them to a number that feels good for you, that feels like, okay, I have enough in here, but it's not in access to where everything's just overflowing in my kitchen. Tons of seasonal decor can really take over our homes. And it's not just when it's out and decorated, like for example at Christmas when you take out your Christmas decorations, but just overall, when we keep a lot of seasonal decor and we keep it in storage, it tends to really pile up, and it can make our storage spaces feel so cluttered and full. It can make it hard to find things in there when we're going up in the loft to look for things, especially if we don't really have a system with it and we're just throwing all of the seasonal decorations in bags, which I used to in the past, just like random plastic bags with lots of random items. You don't know what's in each of them. You have to scavenge through to find what you're looking for. And if it's hard to find the things that we're looking for, sometimes we have this tendency to just go out and buy something else, like buy something new. And I realized for us, the seasonal decor that actually means the most and things that we're excited to get out at Christmas, for example, this last Christmas when we took out our decorations, I noticed my kids were most excited to see the ones that they created last year, not the plain white bubbles that we bought in the shop. Too many clothes is one of the things that can really add to the clutter in our homes, and it can very silently do so, and it's a slow gradual process of us just buying things that are a bargain, buying things that are on sale. And I'm not here to judge anyone, by the way, because I used to do that a lot. I was quite a shopaholic, and I would buy a lot of things that I didn't truly need, but I thought they were cute in the shop and they weren't that expensive. I felt like I could afford them, even though, you know, affording them meant that I was saying no to other things. Because when we impulse buy a lot of things like this, it means we're not using that money in maybe ways that would better our life and that would bring more value to our lives in time, versus just having a new outfit in my wardrobe. And the things with clothes is that they accumulate so much. There's always new stuff that we desire. There's always new trends coming up. There's always a lot of fashion hauls online, and it can feel so tempting to just buy new stuff all the time when we already have a wardrobe full of stuff. And with clothes, I found that the more that we had, you would think that, oh, because we have more clothes, it means we have to do laundry less, and that makes things easier, right? Well, in our case, I learned that having a lot of clothes in my wardrobe meant that there will be more piles everywhere, because you just can't stay on top of it when there's such a huge amount of clothes. Like, I just felt like I didn't have the bandwidth to manage all of that. And so that's why it was so overwhelming. There were piles on the floor, and I felt like I could never catch up with it. And of course, laundry laundry is a cycle, like you're always gonna have to do laundry because we have to live and we have to wear clothes. But when you have less clothes, it means, for one, there's less laundry to do, and it's more of a bit of a little routine that you do every day with a manageable amount versus huge loads of laundry that you just can't keep up with. So decluttering clothes can make such a massive change in your home. Body and hair products in excess can really take up space, and they can clutter up our bathrooms. And in reality, I realized if I had 5 body lotions at one time, I was definitely not using all of them, and it was such a waste of money, it was such a waste of space in my bathroom, and it made me realize that the best thing for me is to just have one at a time. So for the most part, that's what I would buy. If I run out of moisturizer, I'll go out and buy another one. If I run out of cleanser, I'll go out and buy another one. But I will try my best not to buy a new one of the same category until I have used the previous one. Because I find that if I'm halfway through this bottle of moisturizer and I buy a new one, I'm gonna start using the new one and forget about the old one. And then I end up with a lot of these half-empty products in my bathroom that I don't actually use. Skincare products and beauty, makeup products, all of these items can actually be quite expensive and it adds up. And so I think it can make such a big difference if we can use what we have before we go out and buy new. And that's what I've been trying to do myself. Appliances that require a lot of cleaning, like for example, I used to have this window vacuum, and I used to think it's going to make such a big difference and make cleaning my windows a lot quicker. But the problem with mine was that you couldn't actually clean it properly, and so it got moldy inside, and so it was just not a good appliance or like gadget for me to use. And there are so many gadgets like this that are hard to clean, or they take a long time to clean, and so we put it off. When we buy all of these cleaning gadgets, for example, we feel like we're gonna save time, but because they require cleaning themselves, like you have to clean the actual gadget itself, it's not really gonna save that much time. So sometimes just going back to basics and using the plain old spray and cloth can work so much better. Lots of baby gear can also really clutter up our homes. And I know when you have a baby, and for myself too, I bought so many items because I felt like it's gonna make my life easier. It's gonna make that, newborn phase go so much smoother. But in fact, I found that my baby just wanted me. For the most part, that's what they want. And yes, there are little products here and there that can help. And I'm not saying you don't need anything, but sometimes all of these big items, they're not necessary. And for example, when we had our second baby, we definitely were a lot more selective with the items that we bought. And an example of this is a bottle sterilizer for the baby bottles. And we didn't buy this the second time around because we realized having a bottle sterilizer machine means you're gonna have to clean that as well. So you have an extra machine that you need to clean on top of needing to clean the baby bottles. So that would add more steps to it. It would add more cleaning to do. And when you're in that newborn phase, I feel like you just want to have the bare minimum stuff to do on top of taking care of your baby. And what we did instead for sterilizing bottles when we needed to was we just boiled a kettle of water, put all the bottles into a stainless steel bowl in the sink, poured the hot water on it, and left it for 10 minutes or however long. And then that's it, the bottles were sterilized. So we just used what we have instead of getting another machine that would add more cleaning to our plate. Endless toys, or very specific toys that only serve one little purpose. You know those toys that just have one button, you press on it and it makes a noise. And they're really fun and exciting when you look at them in the shops. I notice when I go to shops with my kids and they look on the aisles, they will get so interested in those kinds of toys. But whenever we bought them in the past and we would bring them home, they would play with them for maybe a day or two, and then they would be pretty much forgotten. Very rarely do they play with those kinds of toys. And I think it's because it's very close, like that's all you can do with the toy, right? Whereas when you get open-ended toys, there are so many different ways they can play with them. And I find that my kids play the most with magnet tiles, wooden train tracks, wooden building blocks, the little animal like figurines that they can make scenarios with, or little doll's house characters, some toy vehicles. And I always notice how those are the kinds of toys that they play with the most, they play with in like the most creative way. And I notice that sometimes they will get a toy inside this big box and they will be so excited. And sometimes I notice that my kids actually play the most with the box that the big toy came in instead of the actual toy. And I think that says a lot about what our kids truly need. In order to have fun and be creative, creative and learn through play. Blankets and pillows can really add up to clutter because they can get thrown on the floor a lot and they can make things look a lot messier, I think especially when you have kids. And so don't get me wrong, I still love decor pillows. I feel like they can add warmth and they can make a space look more cozy, and I love that. But we have reduced the amount that we have in our homes a lot because it just makes things messier. It's harder to keep on top of. And in this busy season of life, I just want to simplify things and make things as easy as I can on myself. Trainers and shoes in general can really clutter up our space. To be honest, when I think about it, how many pairs of shoes can I actually wear regularly? Because when I think about the collection that I have at the moment, it is so pared down compared to what I used to have. And even in the past, when I used to have a lot more shoes, I would still wear those same few ones on repeat for pretty much most of the year. And then the other ones would just stay in storage, or they would just stay in my shoe cupboard and they would take up space, but I didn't actually wear them. And also I feel like trainers have gotten so expensive these days. So I feel like for myself, just having a couple of pairs that serve me well, that I wear on repeat, that kind of go with all of the outfits that I like to wear, that's worked really well for me, and I don't really feel the need to have a ton in there as well. Cables lying on all the surfaces can also make a space look a lot more cluttered. And of course we need them, sometimes we need to charge things, right? But what really helped for us is to get rid of the unnecessary. So we really had to look at the cables that we had lying around and see, do we actually use these? Do they go with the devices that we have, or are they just there? And so getting rid of the ones we didn't need made a huge difference, and also creating a space for them. So we made this little charging station that's just a little cupboard, or it can be a drawer or whatever space you have available, where you charge most of the devices in there. And that can really help clear up your flat surfaces. And we also like to hide the cables wherever possible. Like, of course, it's not 100% possible, and there's nothing wrong with having some cables here and there. Obviously, it's a house meant to be lived in, but I think hiding them just here and there strategically, or making them just look a bit more neat by having those little clippers or a little cable tunnel, those things can really help make your space look a bit less cluttered. One thing I think will help you on your decluttering journey and just to keep your home more streamlined is my Simply Decluttered ebook. It's an ebook I put together with lots of tips that I've learned throughout the years, and I just kind of go more in depth into this. I have a 30-day challenge with, questions and little areas to go through in your house to make decluttering really easy. And I also have a list of places where you can take your clutter, because I know that's a big hang up for some of us, like not knowing where to take things once you decided to declutter them. So there's lots more tips in there, and we go room by room, and I think you will find that helpful, so that will be linked in the description box for you. Let me know what products you no longer use. I would really love to get some inspo from you maybe, and I really hope this was helpful, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!